Welcome, DGens, far and wide, to another edition of the DGen Docs. On this episode 3 of the DGen Docs, we're going to be breaking down the NFC West. That is right. We are currently in our division previews, where we are talking free agency, team breakdown, injury analysis, fantasy takes, and of course, best bets, folks. So join us, the DGen Docs, two healthcare professionals whose first love was football and whose second love just happened to be making money off of football. So we hope you join us tonight. Cheers, folks, and we are about to get into it. This NFC West edition of the DGen Docs on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with promo code SGPNDOC to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit. Offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy. Promo code SGPN Doc. All caps, one word, SGPN Docs. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast/RITHMM. What is up, folks? I am the OG DGen Doc himself, Sebastian Fearon, joined by my co-host, none other than Mr. Professor Locks, Derek Bennett himself. What's going on, brother? How we doing?
Dude, it has been a day.
A day.
It's been a day.
It's summertime, man. What are you talking about?
Well, that's the thing. So, I mean, yes, I'm Professor Locks, but in reality, I am a college professor. Okay. So it is like recoup, recovery, summertime. But at the same time, like getting married in September, just bought a house, got all these things that I want to knock out throughout the day, right? So I got my honey-do list.
Oh,
one of which is to go to Home Depot and get a bunch of shit.
Yep, like a real man.
Exactly, right. Well, so yeah, the problem with that is my keys are in my fiance's car.
Okay.
Left over
from on edge like you guys. I have no idea where this is
going. Left over from this weekend. My keys are in my fiance's car. I can't go anywhere. So I finally made a late night Home Depot run just a couple hours ago before recording this. So thank you for allowing us to push this back a little bit.
Oh yes, you're welcome. Wait, so is this the first time this has happened?
Yes, I believe it's the first time that I've left my keys in her car, and I haven't been able to leave the house.
Okay,
under my free will.
I was gonna say this might be a way to be able to just keep you home. You know, she keeps tabs on you. She just take the keys.
Well,
you can't go anywhere.
He keeps giving more and more things to do, so that I guess would be one way to make sure that I can't go and just.
Here, hon, here's your giant list. Oh, you want to go golfing? You want to go, work out? No, I think I'm just going to take your key.
Yeah.
Well, you are on your way to married life, brother. So cheers to you. What are we drinking tonight?
Well, again, it's been a day. So we've basically killed a bottle. But this is Four Roses small batch.
Okay.
But it's probably the last night I'll be drinking this for a little bit. But anyways, what are we drinking over there?
21 shots salutes. I'm still working on the little Elijah. Just working my way through that. Of course, representing Peerless out in Kentucky there.
There you go.
For the good vibes.
There you go.
But hey, man, look.
Hey, one thing. You know what grinds my gears?
That you're saying what we just talked about didn't qualify?
Well, so that did. But so I go to Home Depot, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to get lumber. I'm going to get a few other things. The problem with this is I put all my lumber in my little cart buggy thing.
Okay.
And then they have shit just like in all the aisles at Home Depot. So you can't move around through the different aisles.
You are in bumfuck Ohio. Or what kind of shit are we talking about?
I know, but okay, so there's just random buckets or random cardboard stands of like shit that I guess some people need that I didn't need. No way. So like I had to go 3 aisles over to park my little buggy, and then I had to go to 3 aisles over to get the shit that I needed, bring it back to my cart. So it was just it was a whole thing.
Look, man, I think you're going about it all wrong. This is how you
I
view
need
it.
more.
It's the off
You know
season.
what? You know what? I need football in my life.
It is the dad training camp, man. It is dad Olympics. It is preparing you. You need to look at it like a combine. You got to just be throwing through it, little obstacle course. Just make the most out of it.
Yeah.
But yes, shout out to Home Depot for previewing our "What Grinds My Gear" segment on the show there. Well, listen, we do need football, right? And I will give a shout out to other sports, as in anything other than football, right? They're doing their best to hold it down. We are recording this on Monday, June 24th. We've got Game 7 of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals right now. We've got Game 3 of the College World Series. We've got 12 MLB games. We've got even 2 Copa Americas, Euros.
I was going to say USA over the weekend.
Not looking bad. But I will say, without a doubt, wholeheartedly, I would give that all up in a second for just one Maction game. I need football, man. I would take one Monday Maction game over all that shit, man.
State, Miami,
I don't care. Yep. New Mexico, the Lobos. I don't care, man. I need football. I need it. Listen, I appreciate the other sports trying to hold it down. They're doing their thing. As a sports bettor, it gives you some action, but it's just nothing like football. So, folks, we are 9 Saturdays away from college football and 11 Sundays.
Just over 2 months.
Yep. We are almost there. So, hey, we hope you are just as jacked up as we are. And let's get it going. We are talking about none other than the NFC West over there on the West Coast. Some call it the best coast. Not going to hear that on this show.
The left coast.
But a division that's been, it's really been a 3-horse race for the past couple of years with the 49ers, Rams, and Seahawks. But the Cardinals may surprise some people, and that's who we're going to be talking about first here with the Arizona Cardinals. So let's, as we always do, start with some of their free agency additions and subtractions. So they lost really their wide receiver one, if he could ever stay healthy, Marquise Hollywood Browns, over with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Wandale Moore, speedy wide receiver who never really panned out. He's at the Falcons. Offensive tackle DJ Humphries is a free agent, and defensive lineman starter Lakai Fotu is with the Jets. They did make about double the additions here. So you got some starters on defense and Sean Murphy-Bunting coming over from the Bucs. I believe actually he was at the Titans last. Mac Wilson there, linebacker. Wide receiver Zay Jones from Jacksonville. Jonah Williams, Desmond Ridder, who, what are we really adding there? Let's see. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey Benson, and we already talked about Murphy-Bunting. So, yeah, that's some pretty decent turnover there. Lost a couple wide receivers, brought in a few, especially through the draft there. What are your kind of big takeaways with this team looking at Arizona? They were 4-13 last year.
Yeah, so the things that come to mind, to me at least, up front, is they've definitely made steps in the right direction, I will say, on the offensive side. I think adding Marvin Harrison Jr., adding Trey Benson, adding Zay Jones, I think they're getting better offensive weapons. But what happens on that offensive line? Like, okay, they bring in Jonah Williams, but he really didn't do a ton in Cincy. On defense, they didn't really touch that side of the ball on besides Sean Murphy-Bunting. I guess Mac Wilson as well. But I think they'll be better on offense, especially with Kyler coming back with a full season. I will say that a lot of people have kind of given up on Kyler. I haven't. I think is a stud athlete. Can really spin it, but defensively, I don't know if they've made enough changes to really push their way higher on my board.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I would tend to agree there. Better getting team is getting better, but I don't know if they're quite there yet for me. Let's talk about some of those. Well, really from the injury front, a positive is that they should not be
They're
affected
fairly
too
healthy.
much. Yeah,
Yeah.
by injuries, they are fairly healthy there. So that is the one benefit. The one guy who really is kind of the biggest injury is
Yep.
going to be linebacker Kaiser White. He was the leading tackler for this team last year, so he is an important
Mhm.
piece to that puzzle.
And he got injured when? In November?
In November, yep,
And
November. So
and
he
he
has
was
a
the leading tackler?
yeah. Well,
That
yes,
that says a lot.
yes. That is you're right. But he's been the leading tackler. Let me see. I'm not sure if he finished the year as the leading tackler,
Okay.
but he definitely
I mean,
um
but what we're trying to say is Kaiser White is a roaming linebacker that's just a stud,
Yes, yes, he
you know?
absolutely is a tackling machine. For
Yeah,
those
I
of
mean,
you DGens that do play IDP, obviously you're probably aware with him. We'll be likely taking some of his tackle props in the future. But yeah, he had a biceps tear, typically
mhm.
about a 10 to 11 month injury return to sport timeline. He's working with about 9.5 months. So, what are your thoughts about Kaiser White there?
Honestly, I mean, it's it's an interesting situation there because, like you said, time to week 1 is just under that 10 to 11-month mark. So, will he be ready for week 1? Probably not.
Hmm.
Um, but at the same time, like there's a lot of things that we can do to help um, secure that elbow joint, that shoulder joint, to take some pressure off of the biceps. Like, I think the big thing is how functional he needs to be, um, from a linebacker perspective. Like, he's not a wide receiver, he's not a cornerback, he's not somebody that's needing to go up above his head a ton. Um, in terms of like shoulder function, elbow function, he's not like doing curls out on the 30-yard line. So I
Yeah.
mean, I think, like I said, I think he'll probably be a little bit delayed, but not terribly delayed to start the season.
Yeah, no, I think that yeah, there might be some limitations. I think the biggest thing with a biceps tear from this standpoint would be him initiating contact and kind of hand fighting with an offensive lineman and things like that.
Sure.
So I'd have a little bit of pause with him just getting right back and getting into that lead role with him being such an important piece. But overall, he should be back within the first 4 weeks. He's got a good chance to be starting week 1. It's not he's kind of right around that edge of I'd like to have him have a month more, but I do expect him to be on that part of the field early on in the season.
Yep.
So yeah, and the biggest thing is that's the only real injury concerns they have.
Right.
So
Right. No, and that's one that, because he plays such a vital role in their defense, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually plays week 1 just on a snap count. Like,
yeah,
if, in big situations, or maybe the
yeah,
first couple series, just to kind of get them rolling.
yeah. No, I like it. Yeah, I think some other big takeaways here for me. I think yeah, defense is going to need them because I don't think they're very good on paper.
Yeah.
Looking at this lineup, they've got some guys and we talked about Kaiser White, we talked about Buda Baker, BJ
Mhm.
Ojulari, Zaven Collins, but nobody on this defense scares me. I
Yeah.
guess Buda Baker, maybe. I mean, he's a good
Yep.
player, but like, when you're an offensive coordinator, like who keeps you up at night? There's usually at least one or two guys on the other side, and
There's
maybe it
not
is
much
Buda.
up front that, yeah, I mean,
No, yeah, their linebackers are okay.
yeah.
Their cornerbacks are okay. Like really, it's just Buda Baker is the only
Mhm.
one that would give me any type of pause as an offensive coordinator. So, I do think this defense could be bad, but on the flip side, I think this offense can be really fun. I think
Yeah,
that, Kyler's got some things to prove. Obviously, he can work around with his legs. I think James Conner is getting absolutely slept on. One of the
completely agree.
biggest things I'm asking is why is James Conner RB 27? why is he behind guys like Jonathan Brooks? Like, tell me 26 running backs are going to have a better fantasy year than James Conner. Like, I feel like he's just a guy who's consistently productive, but consistently forgotten. He had over 1,000 yards on a very bad team with no Kyler Murray. I understand Kyler Murray can run, but he can also open up some holes. He's effective out of the backfield. I don't get that one. That's a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, I mean, obviously we're both Pitt guys, and with James Conner being in Pittsburgh for so long with the Panthers and the Steelers, touches us a little bit closer. But at the same time, like James Conner isn't gonna be that guy to bust one for 80 yards. But at the same time, he's just a grinder over and over and over. And I mean, he's proven, like you said, even last year without Kyler on a really bad team, to still be fairly productive.
Yeah, no, I do like Connor. I also like Trey McBride. I think Trey McBride is in from a fantasy perspective. I know he's going high already. He's up there in the kind of top 5, excuse me, fantasy tight ends. And I think he's got a chance to be, 1 or 2. He was super productive, and he only really played half the games. I really liked him last year. He was one of my guys, one of my sleepers. I was fading Zach Ertz coming off an injury and being old. And Trey McBride was the guy who was going to be feasting off that. So he definitely has an opportunity. I think Kyler, James Conner, Trey McBride, all those guys in fantasy can.
Can we talk about Maserati Marv?
I was gonna say I am leaving somebody off that maybe you're a little bit higher on. So why don't you lead us in to what are your best bets for this Arizona Cardinals team?
I mean, like Seb said earlier in this episode, I am from Ohio. I have seen Marvin Harrison do his thing over the last 2-3 years in Columbus as a Buckeye.
Lose to Michigan? Is that thing?
I'm
sorry, you're having a bad day. My bad.
They would have won a natty a couple years ago if he wouldn't have got knocked out. But anyway,
as a Florida guy, I would have taken that over Georgia any day. But all right, here we go.
But this dude's a stud. Like, big body. He's super fast in and out of his cuts. He can run basically any route that they designed for him. I think he's going to be one of those star dudes right out of college. I think he's basically, and this is the understatement. I mean, he's been kind of like that lock rookie wide receiver for quite some time, but they do have a couple of other receiving options. Like you said, Trey McBride is a solid receiving option. Michael Wilson, okay. Zay Jones, okay.
Yeah.
But I think Marvin Harrison really, really shines in this offense. He could be that next Larry Fitzgerald type out there in Arizona. So we'll see. But
my guy hasn't even played a snap. Let's calm down with the Larry Fitz.
Hey, who's his pops?
That's hey, you're right. That's a good point. That's pedigree's there. Pedigree's there.
I mean, he's proven on the field that he can live up to the hype a little bit. But I mean, we'll see. But I think he is definitely their number one option.
Yeah,
going into training camp, going into the season, right off the bat. So
cool. Yeah, is that one for so what? Maserati Marv over touchdowns?
Oh yeah. Maserati Marv over 6.5 plus 125. Yep.
Plus 120. Grabbing some plus money there. All right. A little high for a rookie, but I agree. I think he's at advertised. He's really good. All right. So, and this actually leads me into one of my bets. Kind of going along with that. I do think, Maserati Marv, Trey McBride, Zay Jones, James Conner. I think this offense can move the ball. I also think they have to because their defense kind of sucks.
They're going to be behind.
Yep, they're going to be behind. So give me Kyler Murray over 21.5 passing touchdowns at a nice plus 105 there. And his, 2 seasons. Well, really, rookie year, he had 20. And then when he was healthy, he had 26, 24. Last 2 seasons, he's kind of fallen off, obviously, due to health stuff. But he did come back and look pretty good. He had 10 touchdowns in 8 games. So he was kind of on pace to be able to break that number there. So I like the over passing touchdowns for Kyler Murray there.
No, I like that. Like you said, with McBride, with Marv, with some of the other options that they've added to this roster, I think their offense is going to shine. And that kind of leads into your second one.
Yeah, and then kind of, going along with that, I do like Cardinals team total points over 380 and a half. So to break that down, that comes out to about 22.4 a game. And I know what you're thinking. I originally was like, that might be a lot for them. What did they put up last year when that atrocious offense, when we saw Clayton Tune and Joshua Dobbs, the astronaut, for a little bit? Yeah. So, yeah, they put up 19.4 last year with that atrocious offense, everything going wrong with that team. So I think they're 3 points better on offense. I think that's what it boils down to. We talked about the defensive concerns. I think they can let up some points. They're in a division with some potent offenses. They're going to need to score. So yeah, I like Kyler and that team to get loose. I like this team in fantasy. Again, Kyler Murray, Trey McBride, James Conner, all guys you can get at value, I think. Marvin Harrison, you'll probably have to pay a little bit of a price. So, if you're like Derek and you really believe in him, go get him. I think this team could be fun. Right now we use DraftKings for our odds for the most part. It's just what we both use. I'm not seeing any McBride or James Conner overs. Obviously, I like them. That's something I would play. Also, on Underdog Fantasy, one of our sponsors, promo code SGPN Doc. They have season longs. So, some things that we could potentially talk about there. So, when those come out, I think those are guys that I'll be looking on their overs. Anything else on the Cardinals before we wrap up?
Well, I do kind of sort of sadly have one final best bet.
Oh boy.
Personally, we've talked about how we like the Cardinals offense, but their defense, dude, I just don't see how they're going to win many games. Like I think it's going to be somewhat of a repeat. They're in one of the toughest divisions in football. So I do think the Cardinals go under 6.5 wins, which is plus 125 on DraftKings. So I think they're taking steps, but I think it's mostly due to the division that they're in.
I think that's
just solid teams.
That's completely fair. Their win total sitting at 6.5. Like Derek mentioned, it's pretty heavily juiced to the over, minus 150 over. Plus what 125? Did you say was the under? So yeah, for me, this was like right. I could see it going either way. In that case, if you're going to be in a coin flip, you might as well take the plus money. I could see them getting to 7. I could see them being at 6. I think, Vegas is somewhat right in that way. But yeah, you're right. I mean, this defense did not get better. It arguably got worse. I like the offense, but that does not mean it's going to equate to winning games, right? Fantasy guys and guys that can score points don't always equate to win. So I don't hate that at all. All right, we're moving on to talk about the Seattle Seahawks. And before we do that, quick note here. Make sure you guys check out the OG Sports Gambling Podcast, where it all started with Kramer and Sean over there. They've started their top 10 fantasy football preview series. The quarterbacks and tight ends episodes are already live. Look, folks, we're a strong believer in this, but it is never too early for the National Football League. And we're back, baby. All right, we are talking about the Seattle Seahawks here. So let's get them on the stage here. We're going to start off with their losses and additions. As always, this team was 9-8 last year. They lost Drew Lock, now a member of my New York Football Giants.
There you go.
Will be the day one starter. Stay tuned for next week. Maybe a little bit of we'll be previewing the NFC Beast then. Tight end Colby Parkinson. Offensive guard starter Damian Lewis, some starters in the linebacking core, Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner, and Jamal Adams, who, so much potential, just can never stay healthy. On additions, they added one mid quarterback for another. They went Drew Lock and traded him for Sam Howell. You got Laken Tomlinson at guard, taking over for Damian Lewis. Jerome Baker taking over the middle linebacker spot from Miami. He's a pretty good player there. Center Nick Harris, and their first round draft pick Byron Murphy, the second from Texas. What are your initial takeaways there?
Honestly, I think this basically amounts to the same Seahawks as last year. Like, tell me something that's changed here. I mean, you trade guard for guard, Laken Tomlinson versus Damian Lewis. I mean, they're
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean,
I mean,
we switched out, linebacker, a couple linebackers and a safety, and yeah, like a lineman. Pretty
Byron
much it.
Murphy I mean, definitely has some potential there, but
But he doesn't even need to start behind that good defensive line.
right, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
no,
right. They're pretty much
for
running
the
it
most
back.
part, they're running it back. And last year, as the record can show, they were 9-8.
Yep.
So, what would you expect the Seahawks season to look like this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to Geno Smith. I think I do think this defense is really solid. Looking up and down the board, Jaron Williams, Draymond Jones, Boye Mafe,
Mhm.
Uchenna Nwosu, who we're going to talk about in a second, coming
Yep.
back from injury.
Yep.
They're, this is a solid defense, right? So I think that's one of my biggest takeaways, especially that secondary with Witherspoon, Julian Love, Rick Woolen, and they got Rayshawn Jenkins there. I think this defense is really good. I think it's all going to come down to Geno Smith. How much do you believe in Geno Smith? What Geno Smith are we going to see? I think he's kind of going to be their ceiling. And I think that's what it's going to come down to ultimately.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree there. I mean, like you said, their defense is solid. You got the 12th man behind you at home.
Yep.
What Geno is going to show up week to week is the big question.
Exactly. All right, we'll get to talk about some injuries real quick. So we've got a couple guys coming back from some injuries. Talked about them briefly. Uchenna Nwosu, pass rusher there. He tore his pectoralis major muscle at October 26, 2023. So, typically about a 4 to 6 month recovery process for a pec tear. Grade 3, enough that he needed surgery. Definitely out for the season if you get that anywhere near the season. But, he's got 10 and a half months until the season. He's got really an extra, 4 or 5 months on top of the necessary recovery time to get back on the field. I don't have much concerns there.
As long as he's not training with the Green Bay guys.
Yeah, if he can stay away from the Green Bay Packers strength and conditioning,
he should be fine.
If you want to get that joke, make sure you check out the NFC North episode where we had raised some questions on the Packers, really rehab team, medical team. Similar situation for Jerome Baker coming over from the Dolphins, wrist surgery. He injured himself pretty late in the season, the 7th of January. And another 4 to 6 month recovery. He's got 8 months. So, any concern for either of those guys?
Nope. I think both of them should be fine.
Think both should be fine. One guy I do have a bit of concern with is starting guard, or is he? Let's see. Is he tackle or a guard? Starting right tackle, Abram Lucas. He was in and out of the lineup, had a lot of kind of difficulty, chronic knee pain, some degenerative things going on in his knee. He missed 11 games last year. This has been kind of an issue. So he did have surgery on the 17th of January, right after the season, hoping to fix that up. But as any type of chronic knee cartilage, I would assume they didn't say exactly what the surgery was, but anytime you have some chronic issues in the knee, it's not like they can just replace all that. So, what are your thoughts on it?
No, exactly what you just said. I mean, anytime we start talking about chronic issues, we're talking about long-term things that just won't go away. And anytime you try to clean this up with surgery, like not to say that it's always a bad thing, but like you're almost asking for more weakness and more scar tissue and more like things to like build up that you don't necessarily want. So I mean, we can go through a number of different offensive linemen that have had similar knee related chronic issues.
Ryan Ramczyk,
Bakhtiari. I mean,
Ryan Jensen.
Yep, exactly. So, this is one of those things that like these are big human beings that their brunt of their work is through their legs and driving through defensive linemen. And if you have pain in your knee, you're not going to be able to do that nearly as well. So that, like you said, I think that is a question mark going into training camp for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, like you said, big human beings, right? That's a lot of weight on the knee that's already not too stable. Now they do
Mhm.
expect him back for training camp, but I just think this is one for to watch for. I don't think it's going to go
Yes.
away. So it's not as simple as, hey, he's going to be back, he's going to be good to go. So
Right.
concern there.
Yeah, that's one that he may start the first week, he may start the second week, and then all of a sudden he's going to the sideline in the third week, and then for the fourth and fifth week he's on the bench, and then he comes back, and it's
Yeah,
just kind of one of those things that it may be in and out. Who knows?
yeah, absolutely. And there is a bit of a drop off there between him and
Yep.
George Fant or Stone Forsyth. And then JSN picked up a minor shoulder injury, but it is expected to be minor. At this point, we don't have a ton of information on it, but the expectation is it's not supposed to be a big deal. So
Right.
should be good to go there. So looking over at the fantasy side of things, I think one of the bigger things that stands out to me is the wide receivers are intriguing, and it's the running backs and wide receivers competition, right?
Yep.
Your wide receivers, obviously, DK Metcalf, JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and Tyler Lockett. I thought where they're going right now, ADP was a little interesting. DK, wide receiver 20, JSN, wide receiver 47, and Lockett at wide receiver 51. What guy would you be taking this season at that ADP?
Oh man, that's tough. I really honestly, I think they are going to try to get Jackson Smith and JSN going a little bit more than they did last year. I think there was a little bit being said that he wasn't super happy with the way that they were running the offense, just his involvement. Um, so I would not be surprised if he goes off a little bit more. So I would probably take JSN. But it's so hard having three really solid wide receivers. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
share involvement.
Yeah, no, that is true. I mean, I think he's definitely the guy who's kind of the sexier pick right now, JSN. I think he's got definitely the highest ceiling right now
Yep.
based on where he's going. I mean, DK Metcalf, he might be the best wide receiver, but you're paying the price for him at wide
Right.
receiver 20. I like
Exactly.
Tyler Lockett there at wide receiver 51. I just think he's a producer, and he's a guy who just has makes catches, gets in the end
Yep.
zone, consistently produces. That actually takes me into one of my best bets for this team, and that is Tyler Lockett over 4.5 receiving touchdowns at plus 125 there. He has hit this number 7 out of 9 times in his career. It's only been 2 seasons. I think his second and third season were the only 2 seasons. Second and third seasons were the only 2 seasons he did not get this. He had 5 last year. I just think he's a guy who just finds the end zone. So give me Tyler Lockett over 4.5 receiving touchdowns at plus 125. I like the plus money there. And then kind of not really correlated, but almost in the opposite direction. Give me Geno Smith under 22.5 passing touchdowns. Look, at this point, Geno Smith has really had one good year in the NFL. I think a lot of people tend to forget that. He has hit this number once in his entire career. Obviously, it was the career. I think he made the Pro Bowl last year, which I didn't really understand.
Yeah.
But 2022, when he had 30 touchdowns, the only other time he's been close was last year with 20. I think he is declining. I don't think he's that good to begin with. And there's a reason that there are odds right now for him to be the starting quarterback week 1. Now, he is the favorite, but the fact that there's already questions about, hey, is Sam Howell going to get in here? If they struggle, if they, get off to a slow start, I could absolutely see them trying to see what they got in Sam Howell or, mixing it up there and not having Geno just be the starter because I think he's kind of declining on his way out. So give me the under 22.5 passing touchdowns with a little bit of juice at minus 135. What do you got for other people?
I'm just trying to maul your Geno Smith pick there. I don't know if I like that one or not, but it's partially due to my best bet here, and really I think the Seahawks, like we said, they're kind of running it back.
Yeah.
I think overall, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Rams coming up here in just a minute, but for whatever reason, I just don't like I think the Rams are going to take a little bit of a dip.
Okay.
The Cardinals are still not that great of a team.
Yeah.
I just think the Seahawks can get 2.5 or, at least 3 division wins. So I like the Seahawks over 2.5 division wins at -105.
Okay.
I think their defense is so solid. Their
Yeah.
offense is basically running it back. So I think overall, I think they'll get those 3 division wins. I think they'll split between at least they may get 2 from the Cardinals, and they'll just have to pick up 1 from the 4 remaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Right. We talked about the Cardinals there. May have a fun offense, but their defense should be pretty paper soft, paper thin there.
Yeah.
And I think they do play their division tough. You can win 3 division games and have Sam Howell be your starter, or just Geno Smith be the starter and do what he did last year and still get under this number. So I do think, Pete Carroll, defensive minded coach. He's got 2 solid running backs in Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. I think this could be a run-heavy team. They do have some good wide receivers. I just don't think they need to light up the scoreboard for them to be successful. So I'm fine with that. I could see them, doing something similar to what they did last year.
Did you just mention Pete Carroll?
Yeah. Oh, is he gone?
He's been gone.
What am I thinking about?
Dan Quinn.
What do you mean he's been gone? Whoa, what?
He got booted.
Yes, all right. He got booted this year, this offseason. Don't make me think Mike Macdonald. Yes, the defensive wizard, Mike Macdonald. And that's kind of speaks more to that defense. That should be a better. But anyway, even proves my point even more. Defensive minded head coach. It's just not the guy who's like 75 years old. Yes, he finally was kicked out. Damn, hey, glad it's the off season, man.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not August or September running that. So, all right. Well, Mike Macdonald is a defensive head coach. He's got some good running backs. This can be. I think this could be. I see. Yeah, I'm really anywhere for me from like 7 to 10 wins for this team. But yeah, they're really just Geno Smith. I'm not a believer, but seems like you got a little bit more faith than I do. All right, folks, before we move on, we are halfway through the teams. Let's tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Remember, use promo code. Oop, hold on. Put the wrong guy up on the screen there. My bad. All right, there we go. Promo code SGPNDOC over on Underdog Fantasy. Pick 8 is now live. So, again, we used to be able to get up to 100x. But Underdog's decided that's just not enough. So we're going to get up to 325x your original amount. That is right, folks. For just $1, you can win $325. You can add those spicy picks. Right now, I know they've got WNBA. They've got tennis, golf, hockey. They really got anything you could possibly want. And they are starting to roll out their NFL season-long props that we're going to start breaking down here in the near future. So make sure you get in on the action. Join the fun with their player projections, taking higher or lower. It's as easy as this, folks. We love to give you opportunities to make money, and there's no easier opportunity to make money than this. All you got to do is sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code SGPNDOC, all caps, all one word. And with your initial deposit, you can get up to $250 in bonus cash. Sign up, use the promo code, put in $250, boom, instantly $250 in your account for you to use and cash off of the bets for this NFL season. And then we're also going to talk to you about Circa Sports. That's right, the sports book over in Vegas. With good friends over there at the Circa. They are back with their Circa Survivor and Circa Millions, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Of course, Circa Context take no rake. For the Circa Millions, you essentially pick 5 NFL teams against the spread each week and compete for $6 million. Or for the Survivor, you know how a Survivor works, folks. You pick one team a week to win, can't use them again, and you will walk away with $10 million. for the winner there. So sign up in person at Circus Sports between now and September 7th and use a proxy if you do not live in the Vegas area to play anywhere. We even have a deal with footballcontestproxy.com. You can save $50 with promo code SGP. Look, great time to come out and have a weekend in Vegas. Hang out with Sean and Ryan and some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world. August 22nd through the 24th. Our main host there will be out there in Vegas to celebrate with you guys. Sign up, get you ready for football season. So make sure if you're in Vegas, head out to Circus Sportsbooks and take part in the Survivor or Circa Millions. Yeah, and if you want to, drop us $1 if you go out there and win it because you heard about us idiots talking about it, we wouldn't be mad. Wouldn't be mad at you. All right, moving.
Not one bit. But
not one bit.
Hey, a couple things. One, Circa. Love Circa. I think the last time I was out there was for somebody's bachelor party.
Who's that? We did. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think we were
remember a lot more than I remember.
Yeah, that's probably fair. That's probably fair. I think we went out for division round of the
division
NFL
round,
playoffs, right?
Yep.
Right?
Where
and your G-Man got absolutely plowed.
Yeah.
By the
wallet
Eagles.
Was happy.
It's all right.
But my heart really hurt. Yep.
A lot of good times. But hey, I do have one other thing.
What's up? Oh boy.
Again? Yes.
What grinds your gears?
I really, really love Underdog Fantasy.
Okay.
But in Ohio, we can't do the pick'ems. We can't do the pick'ems. And they're so fun. I love doing Underdog pick'ems, but it's I gotta find.
You gotta talk to your state
government official.
Yeah, get them on. Yes, as Derek is alluding to, make sure you check out which states it's available. It's available for a lot for definitely draft, most for draft, and a decent amount for pick'em. I know in Virginia here we definitely can do it. But yeah, make sure you check out those things. And hey, man, hopefully it's coming soon because we're gonna be smashing some underdog lineups, and I'd hate for you to miss out on the cash we're gonna win. So get somebody on the phone there. All right.
The drafts keep me in play, but
yes, nothing like playing for $15 million there.
Exactly.
For Best Ball Mania, which we will be doing some of the drafts. So
yes.
All right. Enough chit chat. Down to business.
The Rams.
Los Angeles Rams. You're coming off a 10-7 season where they were this close to beating the Lions and moving on in the playoffs there. A couple Matt Stafford vicious hits away. Man, he took a beating in that game. That was a hell of a game.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, that was a great game. But let's talk about their free agency here. So I don't know how Carson Wentz made it on the list as a loss, but he is no longer there. They got rid of the biggest one, obviously Brian Allen. No, I'm kidding. Aaron Donald there, retired, all-time great pit man. He's an absolute stud. So being able to replace him is going to be a big question mark. And you got Aquila Weatherspoon and Jordan Fuller, some secondary pieces there. They did add a decent amount. Colby Parkinson, it looks like he's going to be the starting tight end to start the year at least. Jonah Jackson, really good offensive lineman from the Lions. Tre'Davious White, who for the Bills was good, but he's coming off 2 major injuries, so we'll see. They did reload there in the draft. Blake Corum to help spell Kyron Williams. But Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, teammates out of Florida State Seaman Hall University, they are going to look to replace and help. Well, you can't really replace Aaron Donald, but trying to fill some of those voids that he's going to leave there on the defensive line. Again, 10-7 last year, and their over-under is 8.5 this year with some juice to the over. What do we got? What are our takeaways here? Quick looks, quick thoughts on the Rams.
Yeah, no, like you just mentioned, I mean, they added a lot in terms of offensive line help, defensive help. They lost quite a bit on the defense too. Obviously you lose Aaron Donald, who's just an absolute stud. I mean, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
You lose a couple other pieces in Witherspoon and Jordan Fuller, but Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, besides adding Jonah Jackson on the offensive side, didn't really do much. Just another year older.
Yeah.
Um, and defensively, we'll see. Like you said, I mean, Tre'Davious White has shown that he is a stud when he was in Buffalo, but he's coming off of an ACL tear. Then he tore his Achilles. So we'll see what he can give. Cameron Curl also coming in. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's a solid safety to replace Jordan Fuller. So we'll see.
Yeah. I
Defensively.
well, not to tip the hand, but it seems like you're a little bit lower on the Rams than I might be here. Let's look and
Yes.
talk about some of those injuries you were just alluding to. Starting off with cornerback Tre'Davious White, as you mentioned, was coming off an ACL tear and tore his Achilles this past season on October the 7th, 2023. Yeah, that was brutal. Again, coming off two major injuries, never a good sign. He's got about 10 months until week one, typically about a 10 to 12 month recovery timeline. So definitely some question marks there about, yes,
Mhm.
I think he will play next season, but how much and what he's going to look like, that's a lot of question marks there for a guy who's right now slotted to be starting cornerback opposite Darius Williams there. Tyler Higbee, I think this is one of the people I have the most concern about in all of
Yep.
fantasy.
Yep.
He tore his ACL and his MCL, multi-ligament tear, two major stabilizing ligaments of the knee on the 14th of January, just this year. And yeah, it's only 8 months until the season, but you need about 10 to 12 months for those multi-ligament knee injuries to come back from. So I think there's major concerns. I think there's a chance he does not play at all this year. And if he does, it's going to be very late. So, right now he's tight end number 50 as he should be. Really should not be drafting Tyler Higbee. What are your thoughts about those two guys? Any disagreements? What are you thinking?
No disagreements here. Like you said, Tre'Davious White, we'll see. I think it's kind of one of those things that he's trending towards being ready right around week one. So
Yeah.
will he be ready in football shape? He's not going to really have much of a training camp. We'll see, especially after coming off of two major injuries. They'll probably be a little bit more conservative with him, I would think. And then Tyler Higbee, there's no way he's playing the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's probably one that I'm fading for pretty much the entire season, but especially come draft time. There's no way I'm
Yeah.
drafting Tyler Higbee.
That does leave, from the fantasy side, they're I'm I've been wanting them to someone needs to pick up Sal Cannella from the UFL. Guy's a stud. I'm pretty sure I brought
Oh,
him up when we were talking about Hawkinson earlier.
yep,
I don't
you
know
did.
how that guy's not going somewhere. You could bring him in for, a couple dollars and a bag of Cheetos at this point. But right now their tight end depth is Colby Parkinson, Davis Allen, and Hunter Long. A bunch of guys to me that are right around the same realm of maybe they could be interesting. Who's going to be that starting role? So
Yep.
yeah, right now, I mean, obviously something to monitor, whether it's a waiver wire type thing or you want to take a dart in best ball, because the Rams do use the tight end. They use them quite frequently. So if you can hit on who the guy's going to be, I think that there's some value that can definitely be had there where not many people are taking these guys. So something to think about. And then the other injury I want to talk about, Kyron Williams picked up an undisclosed foot injury. Not a lot of information there. Expect to be back at training camp. He missed OTAs, was just jogging off to the side. He injured his foot while working out. Again, not a lot of information. So one of those things where I think we just need to keep it in mind because right now he's going around
Mhm.
running back 8, which, you're paying a pretty penny for him. I think he could be worth it, but I would not feel great, not knowing what injury he has drafting him. So this is
Yep.
not, red flag, raise the jump off the ship immediately. This is just, I would like to know more before you're
Yep.
basically taking him in the first 3 rounds. And again, he has the potential to, his touchdown potential was great last year. He looked like a stud. But I just want to know that injury before we pull the trigger there. All right. Getting over to the takeaways. We hit on them. We talked about, life after Aaron Donald. I think I'm a little bit more optimistic on the Rams. I think when healthy, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Demarcus Robinson, I think that's a really good offense. You throw in Blake Corum there, Tutu Atwell. We'll see if Colby Parkinson or Davis Allen, either one of them can do anything. But I think those kind of 5 or 6 core guys, I think are a really dangerous offense. when they are healthy. That is going to be the biggest concern with this team. As you mentioned, they're getting a little bit older. And then on the defensive side, really, I like their front seven. They're a young front seven, but I think they have a lot of talent. It's all going to come down to that secondary. What is Tre'Davious White going to give you? Cameron Curl, kind of a journeyman. Russ Yeast, the younger player. Darius Williams, the younger player. Some guys who played well for them last year, but are they ready to take that next step and really become one of the kind of more elite defenses there in LA? So I believe it is your turn as far as the best bets.
Yep.
What do we got?
And really, this just comes down to we've mentioned this a couple times, or at least you just mentioned it. The Rams just historically can't stay healthy. Like, besides their Super Bowl year, like, something happens. Stafford goes down, Kupp goes down. Kyron Williams now has this foot thing. Who knows what Blake Corum's going to give you? I don't know. Like, I think in general, the Rams have lost a couple key pieces in terms of Aaron Donald. And I don't know. For whatever reason, I just can't trust the Rams this year. Just going into the season, I just don't like the Rams. Like, they finished the regular season 7-1. Like, they're not that good of a team. Like, they're not an 800 win team.
Yeah,
they're just not. Like, I think in general, the health perspective is what leads me to think that they're just not gonna get that.
Just rip my heart out. Tell me.
I don't know.
I
just think
LA team.
I don't think they're gonna be a winning team. Like, I'm taking their under 8.5 wins at plus 125. I think it's plus money. I think losing a couple of key pieces on that defense, and they're another year older and they can't stay healthy to begin with. So I'm saying that they don't get over 500 this year. End up missing the playoffs.
Okay. All right, Los Angeles Rams fans. We're going to take everything my co-host just said and his negative Nancy self and throw it out the fucking window. Okay? Because I, for one, think this Los Angeles Rams team has great potential. I think you can get great value on this team. So I've got 3 bets for the Los Angeles Rams, all of them positive. First, Rams to make the playoffs at plus 100. I think, first off, this is a division where NFC typically is, historically the last couple of years has not been as well as the AFC. I think you can get 2 slots, if not 3, out of this division. So I think them to get the playoffs at even money is a great bet. Yeah, we talked about it. Aaron Donald is gone, but they brought in Verse, they brought in Fisk. Colby Turner looked good last year. I think they got a young core. Ernest Jones. I really like this defense, especially their front 7. And then that offense, man. It's Matty Stafford, Cooper Kupp's healthy, Puka Nacua, Demarcus Robinson, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum. Man, that is a 5-headed monster I don't want to mess with. So give me them to make the playoffs at plus 100 and give me them to win the NFC West at plus 330. As we're going to get into it, I think that the 49ers, after, being in the Super Bowl last year, maybe smelling themselves a little bit, maybe in for a little bit of a slump post Super Bowl L. So I like the Rams to go ahead and get that done plus 330. And then, if you thought that was crazy, well, buckle up, folks, because I am going to be playing Cooper Kupp to lead the league in receiving touchdowns at 40-1. Yes, this is obviously a bet on Cooper Kupp staying healthy, which he's done a decent job of doing throughout his career. He's had 10 touchdowns one season, and then just a few years ago in 2021 with his buddy Matt Stafford, he had 16 touchdowns. It took 13 to lead the league this year. I think he's still capable of it. I just don't think a guy who has done this before and who has an elite quarterback should be 40-1. I think everyone is on the Puka Nacua train. I get it. He looks good. But again, that was when Cooper Kupp was not healthy. Cooper Kupp is healthy. He is a dangerous red zone target. Give me Cooper Kupp to lead the NFL in receiving touchdowns at 40-1. I'd ask you for your thoughts, but I really don't want to know them. You negative Nancy.
If Stafford and Kupp both stay healthy, I just don't see that. I don't see them playing 17 games. I just don't.
That's fair. I'll still take it over the Bryce Young comeback player of the year 40-1.
I took that back.
Okay, we did retract that. Yes. Remember, folks, you cannot come back from sucking anymore. Apparently, the NFL does not want to reward people like Flacco from coming off the couch, even though we thought it was great. We loved Joey Flacco coming off the couch.
Exactly. He was playing the husband dad role.
Yeah, he was one of us. He was one of the people coming off the couch. He was watching Red Zone
going home, watching Red Zone, right?
Yeah. What is it? 12 consecutive hours of whatever. All right. And before we move on to our last team here, let me tell you about Rhythm. That is right. Rhythm, RITHMM. If you're betting player props, you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm is the go-to sports betting tool that transforms complex data into actionable insights, empowering bettors with smarter, data-driven decisions. Unlike other platforms, Rhythm combines advanced predictive analytics with an intuitive user experience, making betting both easy and enjoyable. Rhythm's predictive models were born from the brains of MIT data scientists and quants with over 3 years of data that help drive you to better AI-backed betting decisions. Look, folks, I feel smarter just from reading that fucking ad read. Okay, yep. So this is how you know that these guys are legit. All right.
Technology is helpful. You let the robots, let AI help you win money.
Exactly. Look, we'll help you win. The robots will help you win. We need to make sure we're on the same side as these robots here in case some Terminator shit goes down. Okay. So we got to get on the good side with Rhythm. Make sure you download. They've got WNBA. They got golf. All these other sports that you maybe kind of care about when it's not football season. But they'll be ready for football season. So don't you worry. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgambling.com/rhythm. That's sportsgambling.com/RITHMM. All right. One more team.
Speaking of golf, though.
Oh, gosh. What do we want?
Can you just no? I mean, I haven't looked what Scotty Scheffler's odds are lately, but like I think he's won 6 of the last 10 weeks or something.
You want to see something funny? So, yeah, fully disclosure, I don't really know shit about golf. I'm not a golfer. But I did see a fucking hilarious chart. And since 2021, Scotty Scheffler has 12 wins. You want to know who that's more than? That is more wins than the Carolina Panthers, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Chicago Bears. Ooh, all right, maybe that's since 2022. Now I'm thinking about it. But this past 2 seasons, anyway, 12 wins, more than 3 of those NFL franchises over 2 years. That's a pretty damn good run, right? I don't know a lot, but I've also saw he won like over 21 mil this year in golf, like purses, or they call them purses.
Yep. But we're halfway there. Like this dude is a robot. Like he's incredible. He really is. But anyways, to the Niners.
And he's got a mugshot, which is
he does.
Street cred. All right, yes, to the last team for the NFC West preview, the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to talk about additions, subtractions. There's a lot of them, so let's rattle through some of these bigger ones here. Chase Young from the loser university. I'm sorry. I was thinking of something. My bad. But anyway, yep, Chase Young gone, as is his neck. Defensive end Randy Gregory is gone. He is on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Javon Kinlaw is on the Jets. Eric Armstead are on the Jags. Sebastian Joseph Day on the Titans. And Tashawn Gibson is a free agent. A lot of defensive linemen leaving the building. And then add additions there. Spaceman himself, Joshua Dobbs. Leonard Floyd on that defensive line. Yatir Gross-Matos, who never really panned out with the Panthers. Penn State guy. Devondre Campbell, linebacker from the Packers. Colton McKivitz coming to be an offensive tackle there, a starter. Malik Collins and the defensive line, and then Mr. Slick Rick himself, Ricky Pearsall, my fantasy football sleeper for the Florida Gators. Love him. Just a great overall Gator there. All right, what are we thinking? There's a lot of moving parts. What are the initial takeaways?
A lot of moving parts for the NFC champs there, especially on the defensive line. Like you said, you lose Chase Young, you lose Randy Gregory, you lose a couple D tackles. You replace them with a few guys, but will they be able to rotate the guys through like they did last year? It seems like every other play they had a whole new defensive line getting after a quarterback last year. So will they be as fresh as they were last year? Probably not. But they brought in a couple decent pieces in Malik Collins and Leonard Floyd. Devondre Campbell definitely should help in the loss of Dre Greenlaw. That we'll definitely talk about here in just a little bit. But yeah, I think overall the Niners are the Niners on offense. They really didn't make many changes. They, like you said, they brought in Ricky Pearsall, but other than that,
you're right. Not a ton of change.
change.
Yeah. So let's talk about these Niners, and we'll get, as you've been telling throughout the show, one of us probably has a different opinion on the Niners than the other one. But one of the reasons that I'm not super high on them is their injury situation, right? Talked about Dre Greenlaw. He hurt himself on the absolutely worst day possible to hurt yourself in the season, in the last season. And that was the last game in the Super Bowl. Warming up, he was getting ready to come back out onto the field and was all jacked up as he should in the Super Bowl, and tore his Achilles. Non-contact, boom, done. Right? We all saw the video. He only has 7 months until the season. This is a 9 to 12 month recovery. Really, I like 10 to 12 months for a return to sport from the Achilles. I have huge concerns here. He's another guy like Higbee who may not play this season. Like, I want him to get at least to that 9-10 month mark. That's 2-3 months into the season. So huge concerns there. Another guy, Talona Hufanga, great name, great player. Safety, he's coming back from an ACL tear when Rachaad White absolutely juked him out of his ligament. It was brutal. If you haven't seen that play, we're not going to show it because I'm not going to be able to do that without laughing, because that was a dirty juke move. But he injured himself on November 21st, 2023. ACL tear, anterior cruciate ligament, major stabilizing ligament in the knee. You heard us talk about it here. It's about 10 and 12 month return to sport. He's got 9.5 months, so he's definitely got more time. He definitely will play next season. It's just going to be about when and what he's going to look like. So why don't we start with those two guys? What are we thinking?
Yeah, like you said, I don't know if Greenlaw is going to sniff the field this year. I think it's going to be one of those things that, depending on how the Niners season starts, will he make a run second half of the season? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hufanga is going to play. He will probably be a little bit delayed. Like you said, usually with an ACL tear, 9-10 months is still really pushing it for a return. So will he be on a snap count? Will he, be starting the first 2-3 weeks? Yeah, maybe, but probably not. But I think they brought in some guys that can take their place to a certain extent. Devondre Campbell is aging at this point, but he's definitely a solid linebacker that can fill in for Dre Greenlaw to a certain extent. Hufanga is a stud on the back end in terms of safety. So
they really missed him last year when he went
out. They really did. And, they didn't really do much in terms of adding any safeties.
Nope.
We'll see. But like we said, he'll probably miss the first couple weeks, and then he'll be back in there and just be an absolute born storming stud. So,
okay. Yeah. All right, we got a couple more injuries, and some similar injuries. Charvarius Ward, cornerback Charvarius Ward, starting cornerback, and starting tight end George Kittle, both suffered a core injury at some point during the season, to the point that they needed surgery after the season. They both got them done in about February. It's about a 3 to 4 month recovery timeline. They've got about 6.5 months to the season. Neither of them have returned to offseason training at this point, which isn't a huge concern. They're both expected back by training camp. Kittle's situation is a little unique. Now, he was rehabbing not only from the core surgery, he had a torn MCL in his toe. He had an issue with his shoulder, a fractured rib, and dealing with that core injury. So he had a lot, to the point that he went on one of those Barstool, I think, Busting with the Boys.
Yep.
And he said he lost 30 pounds during the offseason. Just he wasn't able to rehab, right? So he says, he was dealing with something, and because of the shoulder and the rib, he wasn't able to work out his upper body. And then because of the core, he couldn't do a lot of lower body. So he just kind of had to sit for like a month and a half, 2 months. And as you see guys who get out of any professional sport and then get to doing nothing, they'll either balloon up or they'll shrink down, because when you're not working out as hard as these guys work out, muscle atrophy can only really takes about 14 days to get the process started. So a month, 2 months, absolutely, this could be 30 pounds of weight loss. So what are your thoughts about there?
I somewhat agree and somewhat disagree, to be honest with you. I honestly, not to say that George Kittle is lying that he lost 30 pounds, but like, eat. It's the off season. Like, calories in, calories out is a thing, like in terms of weight gain, weight loss. So is it good weight that he's gaining, losing? Yeah, okay. But like 30 pounds in 3-4 months, that's a shit.
That would be a shit ton. Yeah.
But with that being said, core injury, rib injury, very, very painful injuries to really do anything, whether it's working out, whether it's just walking around, whether it's laughing, whether it's sneezing. Like, a lot of those core and rib related things, they just hurt.
Yeah.
Doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't really surprise me that he's and really Charvarius Ward with his core surgery too, that they're maybe a little bit behind schedule, if you will, to their normal off-season workout plans. But at the same time, like, they have plenty of time before training camp, before week 1, to make things right. So
yeah,
I think in general, I'm not too concerned with either one of those.
Yeah, I would agree. It's something to know right now. But at this point, if things go as they should, both these guys should be good to go for week 1. Even as someone who's lower on this team, I think, that is the realistic expectations. Kittle, if it was somebody else, I might be a little more concerned with the several injuries, but the dude has clearly played through injuries. He's an absolute freak, absolute animal.
He's from Iowa, dude.
Yeah, like, anybody who loves to block is a cool dude in my book. So I do not really have a ton of concerns. Now, Kittle, he's going around tight end 8, around guys like Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram. Personally, I'm not super high on this offense, but I would take George Kittle before Kyle Pitts, but I would take Evan Ingram before them both. Where are you at with that?
I would take Kittle before either one of those dudes, to be honest with you. I think their offense really hasn't made too many big changes. So
yeah,
I think, the Aiyuk situation is kind of interesting.
Yeah, kind of.
That's still out there, but overall, I think their offense is basically running it back. I mean, I think it's another year with Brock Purdy, just getting in Shanahan's, brain. So,
yeah. Well, here's my concerns, right? There is a realistic chance. I mean, Brandon Aiyuk right now is currently running around with first-round draft pick Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. They played together for one season when Daniels was at Arizona State. He was a freshman, I believe, and Aiyuk was a senior. So he's heavily trying to recruit him. So there's a chance that they don't have Aiyuk. There's a chance they don't have Greenlaw. There's a really good chance they don't have Greenlaw. There's a chance they don't have Hufanga. There's a chance they don't have Charvarius Ward. We'll see about Kittle for week 1. So we're talking about guys like Curtis Robinson, Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa, and Logan Thomas, and Jacob Cowing being in the starting lineup. So, as you can probably tell where I'm going with this.
So going back to the Aiyuk thing, like they own him for 3 years. Like he still has another year on his deal. Then they have the franchise tag. And then they could franchise tag him again. Like he's not going anywhere. There's no way.
These are wide receivers, man.
There's no way that he's going to sit out 2-3 years.
Okay. It's unlikely. It's unlikely. But clearly there's something going on there. You can't say it's nothing at this point. I think it's kind of,
a couple years ago, Debo was saying that he would never play for the Niners again as well. And he's still there.
It's a good point. It's a good point. We'll see about how the thing is. But either way, I do think the defensive line takes a step back. Like you mentioned, really it's Nick Bosa. Leonard Fournette's not bad, but Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, they lost a lot of pieces. They don't have the depth that they did anymore. I'm worried about who's going to replace Dre Greenlaw. I'm worried about the safety position because not only did Hufanga, he's a great player, but coming off a severe injury, but Jair Brown, the rookie, really struggled when they tried to play him in that position last year. And he slotted to be a starter. So between that D line, that secondary, and if Brian and Aiyuk, we'll say he's there, but hey man, Brock Purdy still Mr. Irrelevant, still was the last pick in the draft for a reason. So
still going to back-to-back NFC championships.
That's fair. But my best bets for the San Francisco 49ers, I'm going under 9.5 wins at plus 350. Their win total, so they're 12-5 last year. Their win total is 11.5 this year with a little bit plus 105 to the over. So a little bit of juice to the under there. I think this is a situation where I don't think they're going to completely fall off face of the earth, but I think 9-8 is in the realm of possibilities. I think they can take a step back. Like we talked about, that defensive line, those secondary does not give me a lot of confidence. They've got some big injury concerns, and I don't like this Aiyuk juju that is getting thrown around in this offense. I'm not super sold on, a situation where you could be looking at Deebo Samuels, Christian McCaffrey, and then, you can throw Kittles in there, but Juwan Jennings.
Ricky Pearsall. That's your boy.
I do love Ricky Pearsall, but hey, sometimes we gotta let loyalties die. So that's my first, but on the other side, I do think Deebo Samuel is still going to get his. So give me Deebo Samuel 5+ rushing and 5+ receiving touchdowns. So he just has to get 5 of both, which he's done. He did last year, and I think he's done the past few years at plus 650 for Deebo Samuel there. Again, I think they just love to use him in all different ways, and I think that's when he's at his best. So for him to get 5 touchdowns both ways, I think is absolutely doable. Just pulling up his stats here. So he did this last year, and then he did it the year before. So 2 out of the last 3 years, he's hit this fairly easily. So give me Deebo 5+ rushing, 5+ receiving at plus 650. What do you got for the good people?
So, I mean, kind of opposite of the Rams picks. I think we're again kind of on 2 different sides of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Niners run it back. They go on their revenge tour to a certain extent. And they stay the kings of the West. I think on offense, they really didn't lose much. On defense, obviously, defensive line, they lost a few different pieces. They brought in some pieces to replace those. Obviously, you're not going to replace 3 D tackles, a couple D ends with 2 D tackles and a D end or whatever it is, but they brought in some serviceable pieces to replace them. I think they definitely get over 11 wins.
Okay.
Which is plus 105. And I'm also going to go out and say that they're going to be the last undefeated team in the NFL
my
at
goodness.
plus 750. So if I pull up the Niners schedule, they have the New York Football Jets to start the season on Monday night.
The revenge of Aaron Rodgers' Achilles.
Yeah. Last time we saw Aaron Rodgers to start a season, he blew his load 4 plays in.
3 plays in. But he looked like a badass carrying that American flag out of that damn tunnel.
Definitely. And then he spouted out that he was going to come back from an Achilles tear in like 3 months. But
that was fucking terrible. Yeah.
So I think they win against the Jets. Minnesota. They know Sam Darnold pretty well. Okay. Dub. At Los Angeles, that's going to be the question mark, to be honest with you. New England, dub. Arizona, dub. Seattle, dub. Kansas City.
They're going to get rocked in Kansas City. Or no, they're at home.
Revenge spot
at home.
Kansas City really doesn't turn it on until the playoffs, so we'll see.
Fair.
And then Dallas.
Fuck Dallas.
Exactly. And then their bye week at Tampa.
They're going to get smoked by Tampa.
So, I think they get to their bye week unblemished. They may get tripped up, like I said, against or at the Rams week 3. I think that's the one spot because Kansas City's at home, Dallas is at home.
Yeah. What's that price again to be the last undefeated?
Plus 750, I think.
Okay, plus 750. All right. I mean, hey, I don't love this team, but you're right. Kansas City starts off slow. Yeah. I mean, from these.
No, at LA, week 3 is the spot I'm most nervous about with that one. But if they can get past that one, I think they roll.
Yeah. I don't hate that based on your logic, but on different sides of the coin there for the last 2 teams here. So obviously, hey, that shows you that we are not colluding. We are making our own picks here. All right, folks, we've talked about all 4 teams, so we're gonna do a quick wrap up of our best bets. Derek, I will let you start. Why don't you run through your best really quick, and then I'll run through mine, and we'll get the fuck out of here.
So we're going Cardinals under 6.5 wins plus 125. Maserati Marvin Harrison Jr. over 6.5 touchdowns plus 125. The Seahawks to go over 2.5 division wins. The Rams to go under 8.5 total wins at plus 125. And then the Niners to go over 11.5 wins, and then the last undefeated team at plus 750.
All right. And for myself, OG Doc here. I got the Arizona Cardinals team total points over 380.5 at minus 115. Kyler Murray over 21.5 passing touchdowns at plus 105. Geno Smith for the Seattle Seahawks under 22.5 passing touchdowns at minus 135. Tyler Lockett over 4.5 receiving touchdowns at plus 125. Yes, Sam Howell is going to throw him a couple of those. Rams to make the playoffs at plus 100 even money. Cooper Kupp to lead the NFL in receiving touchdowns at 40-1. The Rams to be your NFC West division champions at plus 330. The San Francisco 49ers under 9.5 wins at plus 350. And Deebo Samuel to have 5 receiving and 5 rushing touchdowns, 5 or more, I should say, at plus 650. So definitely some disparity there between the two of us, but that's how it goes. May the best man win. And at the end of the day, as long as we're profitable, that's all that matters.
Make my wallet thicker. That's all I want.
All right, brother. Looks like the glasses are empty. Do you have anything parting words for the good people before we get the heck out of here?
Nope.
All right. Good stuff. Long episode today. So, hey, this is what happens. We're breaking down again. We talked about free agency. We broke down the team. We talked about the biggest injuries, fantasy football,
fantasy stuff. Yeah,
we got you some best bets. So if you enjoyed bullshitting with us for this past hour plus, then comment, like, subscribe. Like we said, this is part of a division preview series. So we did the NFC South, we did the NFC North. This is episode 3, NFC West. So you can guess the NFC East, the NFC Beast is coming next. So that'll be up next. Whoa. Only division with at least one Super Bowl. Let's relax, okay? Let's go fucking Giants. All right. Time to get out of here. We appreciate y'all, folks. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. DGen Docs out of here. What's up, DGens? Doc here. As a proud member of the U.S. Army and a lover of football, sometimes those two things cross over on here. But as you probably already know, as a lowly captain, these are just my opinions. These are not opinions that are representative of the entire DoD or the U.S. Army. The same thing goes for any references to any commercial products or hyperlinks. Again, that does not constitute an endorsement from the DoD or the Army. I hope you enjoyed the show, and as always, let it ride, baby.